Moment of the plane that veered off the runway and crashed and burst into flames. The plane is believed to be carrying 181 passengers, including 6 crew members. Rescue operations are underway, is what we're learning. My colleague Vishnu joins us with more details. Vishnu, take us through the latest coming in as far as this crash is concerned.
Well, at least 28 people have been killed in this crash, which has taken place at the Muan International Airport in South Korea. This was a Jeju Air aircraft, a Boeing 737-800, on a scheduled flight from Bangkok to Muan. It made a belly landing, as the video shows, and it was unable to stop in time. It slammed into the perimeter wall, as a result of which there have been extensive casualties. We don't know of the exact circumstances prior to the belly landing event, but obviously there was a hydraulic failure, as a result of which
Hydraulic
the
failure,
pilots were unable
hindi niya
to
mabibrake
lower the
yung gulong.
undercarriage. They went ahead with the landing, but unfortunately there was enough speed on the aircraft
Hindi niya
down the
mabibrake
runway on
kasi
its belly,
yung hydraulic kasi, yung
to
brake
prevent
kasi,
it
hydraulic
halting
oil
in time.
yun.
It slammed into
Pag naputol
the
yung
perimeter
hose,
wall, and as I
maaari.
mentioned, the latest reports indicate
Baka-
that 28 people have lost their lives. A few details
Baka
about the
nag-leak
airline.
yan eh.
Jeju Air is
Pag
believed
may
to
leak
be
kasi
South
mawala yung
Korea's
pressure.
largest low-cost carrier. This
Maaari
particular aircraft
ganun.
was a Boeing 737-800, which has been
Grabe, oh.
acquired from the European carrier Ryanair in
Chinichip naman yan, may
2017.
maintenance naman yan. Kaso lang
There are
minsan
rescue
kasi
efforts which have been on for the
dumarating
last
sa ano.
while. There was an intense fire which broke out after the aircraft slammed into the perimeter wall. 28 people have lost their lives. There were more than 170, as I understand it, on board the aircraft. Let us hope that the number of those who survived remains relatively high. But a sad tragedy that's taken place. It comes just a couple of days after Russian forces accidentally shot down an Azerbaijani aircraft, which crashed upon a landing attempt in Kazakhstan. So it's been a sad week for international aviation.
Right, Vishnu. Thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. I'm also being joined by Bill Gallo, Seoul Bureau Chief of Voice of America. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Gallo. Now, we're learning that this aircraft has attempted a belly landing, which led to its crash, and we can see it burst into flames. What's the latest you can bring us as far as the rescue operations are concerned?
Well, it seems so far they have rescued 3 people, but the Yonhap news agency here is reporting that 181 passengers were on board. So sadly, especially looking at that tragic video, it seems like those casualty numbers are expected to increase at this point. It's really too early to say, but as your colleague has reported, so far 28 people have been rescued.
Right, Mr. Gallo, also take us through the technicality of this particular crash. Like I mentioned, a belly landing is what we're learning had occurred. But as far as what we're learning that the landing gear was not fully extended as well.
Right, yeah, you can definitely see from that video that the landing gear was not extended. The question is why. Some South Korean news reports are quoting officials as saying that
landing gear.
a bird collision, some type of bird strike was responsible for some
report.
sort of failure with that landing gear, and that the plane actually attempted, or in some fashion tried to land the plane a first time. It did not succeed. So it came around a second time, apparently trying to land the plane without the landing gear deployed. As you can see, it was not able to slow down. It exploded. The explosion, the fiery crash you see there, is occurring at a relatively high rate of speed. So obviously, we've got a lot of details yet to be uncovered, but there's a lot that you can see even just from that video, unfortunately.
Absolutely. We're learning that in the hundreds of passengers that were on board, do we have details of the nationality of the people who were on board?
Yes, it seems there were 2 Thai nationals on board. The rest were South Koreans. These people, probably many of them were coming from Thailand on vacation. It's quite cold here in
The rest,
Korea.
Korean.
Thailand is a very popular vacation destination for Koreans. Probably, in some sense, this makes it even more tragic that people just going to try to sort of have a good time and relax with their families. We don't have any more details about the number of children or things on board, but this terribly sad story, and as your colleague mentioned, has come in the context of other recent sort of plane accidents and mishaps, but really an unfortunate event here.
Right. Speaking of other accidents there in South Korea, before we let you go, Mr. Gallo, if you could take us through the air safety in South Korea and the procedures that take place as well when such landings happen.
South Korea has a good reputation, honestly, for aviation safety. As has been mentioned, Jeju Air is a low-cost airline. I've taken it very many times. It has seemed very much in line with other low-cost airlines, but also I've never felt unsafe. There have not been recent crashes in South Korea of airplanes. So, it is quite tragic anytime this happens, but I think sort of unexpected in some ways that it would happen in South Korea. It comes at a bit of a different time here in South Korea with this political crisis that we're experiencing. South Korea is now on its third president in several weeks. So sort of the upper levels of the Korean government are going to need to work very hard to make sure everything is coordinated and in sync in order to be able to respond and communicate during this crisis.
Right, Mr. Gallo, this particular aircraft, the Boeing 737, we're learning that is also brought in from the Ryanair line as well. Take us through the technicalities of this aircraft.
I can't actually say very much about the technicalities of this specific aircraft. As others have noted, this I believe is a Boeing aircraft, but other than that, I could perhaps leave it to some of your colleagues to do some reporting on that.
Mr. Gallo, Boeing has been in the news for quite a few months regarding their